Thank you for being here. There you are. Can you hear me? Okay. We can't hear you. Your audio's not there. I think it might be the earpiece. No, you're still missing your audio. There you go.
Oh,
Okay.
lovely. Yeah.
Perfect. So, for those of
Yes.
you guys who didn't join the first live, I basically created a series called In the Bed with V, and it's a series to talk openly and honestly about topics that come up that maybe know is dealing with or you're dealing with personally, and just to be able to share the tools and different understanding perspectives to help you navigate what it is that may be relevant to you. So today I'm super excited because I have my brother on and one of my closest friends, Leland Chad Williams. He's an actor, he's a musician, and he's an amazing spirit. I'm going to also let him introduce himself briefly, and then we're going to get into the conversation of the day, which is really, really, really exciting. So everybody that's tuned in, I hope that you stay engaged in the conversation because it's going to be really amazing.
And guys, invite in your friends if you guys, roommates, whoever. Hi, I'm Leland Chad Williams. I also go by LC. I'm a singer, an actor, musician, dancer, host, and a friend to this lovely lady here, a two-time author and mother and business owner, great friends. I'm really, really excited to share this moment with you all. And yeah, welcome to In the Bed with V. Feature myself. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
super
is awesome.
exciting. So I have 4 questions that I want to cover. Um, and we're going to go through them kind of organically and talk about them as they come up. Um, One of the
Okay.
big questions that I have and that I wanted to kind of get to was just so for those of, I don't want to just spoil it, but we're going to get into it. Um, I don't know how many of you have ever had a secret in your life or just things that you've been through in your life that you felt like were a heavy burden on you, and you were just carrying them for the longest time, but you didn't know who to talk to about them or even what to say or how to say it because you just didn't know how it was going to come out. And one thing that I like can compare to what Chad is going to share, but I know it's not comparable because it's a different experience. But for me, the energy of what it felt like was when I used to live in LA, we used to live in LA together, and just having had gone through personal things in my life that I wasn't proud of, just industry stuff, and just remember trying to find myself spiritually, and literally listen to this audio from Lauren Hill one day, and she was like, when I was finding myself when I was waking up, I felt like I had the need to go to my parents and just confess all the stuff that I've done. And at the time that I heard it, it resonated so deeply, and I was like, man, I feel that same way. And so for me, I went and did that, and I called my mom and I told her all the stuff that I had done. And it wasn't pretty stuff. It was things that I was ashamed of. I didn't want anyone to know. And she listened, she just heard me out. But not knowing what she was going to say at the other end of the phone scared me the most. But I remember hanging up, and some of the stuff she didn't reply to. But I remember hanging up the phone and just feeling like a weight lifted off my shoulders. And so, with that being said, what did it feel like for you when you came to your family? Or even more so, why do you feel like coming out is considered like a big, momentous moment in time in your life?
You know, that's obviously a great question, and it is a big moment, especially obviously within the gay community. Um, nonetheless, that culture. Um, I actually didn't have a formal coming out. I've never come out. That was heterosexuals don't have a
Right.
coming out, and at that age, I wasn't at all interested in coming out. Obviously, being a youth minister, you know, playing the piano for my church and singing on the praise and worship team, and my mother being in seminary, I was not. It was not the norm. It wasn't. It's not popular. Obviously within the Christian community, which is where. Sorry, I'm totally like tilted. Which is where I first relate. This is where I first come from. So it a coming out for me was actually me moving to LA and kind of owning myself, and you know the androgyny that I kind of innately possess, if you will. But that was my coming out for my
So do you
family.
feel like it was more of like you just giving yourself space from what you knew and and who you felt knew who you were to be who you truly were? Do you feel like it was more so you creating the space as a tool to really be who you were?
Definitely. And I had to test the waters. I had to explore and take that adventure head on. And I remember telling a spiritual father of mine who told me that I wasn't ready. And I remember telling him in his car, Escalade, well, when am I going to be ready?
Mm.
If I'm not ready now,
When
when
will
will
you
I
be
be?
ready to come out, or when will you be ready to express your? Can you explain more what you mean by when you'll be ready?
I think that coming out is expressing your true nature and
Mm.
however and whatever you, in its truest and most authentic form for you, because we are all walking an individualized path and journey in this human experience as
Mm-hmm.
spiritual beings. And that's that coming out was me expressing and owning that, number one, I'm a trip. Obviously, being in Hollywood and in that genre of career, it you step on first time you step onto a red carpet, you want to obviously affirm yourself and I'm a star. I can do this, or not even a red carpet. And let me first off, acting class, and then that's intimidating. I always felt the tug to to want to truly express myself in how it naturally as it naturally
Mm-hmm.
comes through me, and that was coming out in the identity of sexuality. um and that's still obscure because I'm actually I identify obviously as gay, but I'm actually a very bisexual man. I talk to my twin a lot about turning
Mm-hmm.
25. I don't even know what happened. Like, I wanted to lock myself in a closet. I mean, I've never felt, and obviously, if you're, around people who have kids, or just being around my brothers and their growing family, I not just got baby fever, but obviously I kind of just, I instantly felt, if you will, this need to procreate. Like, and that's a divine nature. That's a, you know, um, the gift that I've been given as a man. If
This is a
not
good
that
segue
deep,
to
but
what I wanted to ask you too. Being that
sure.
you are a man that, I know you said you identify as bisexual, that has been with a man and a woman. What do you feel like? Okay, so spiritually, right? We all have a divine masculine and feminine identity within us because we have our mom and our dad in us. So we all have the same at core. We have the same core, right? And
Mhm.
we all have an energy system. So being that you've been with a man and a woman, what do you feel were the differences, or are the differences that you feel between the two? Like in the act of sex. Yeah,
In
like
the
if you
act of
do feel
sex.
a difference at all. Because I know you said you still felt that pull as a man to need to procreate.
This may be funny, but um, like my dad thinks I'm going to marry a supermodel or something. I think that's totally great, But I have this like little, on my shoulder that's like, I don't even. I would really, really hope that whoever it is that that I marry and start a family with, obviously that it lasts forever. That's always the goal. Um, but it is that fear: will a woman keep me happy? Because I do have an attraction to
But
men as well.
still
Am I going
attraction.
to want that? If that was the what I
Yeah.
wanted to do.
Do you feel
Um,
like the attraction is, where do you, like, at what level do you feel that attraction?
at what level do I
Yeah.
feel that
Like,
attraction?
being that you said you could be attracted to a man and you have also been with women, where do you feel that attraction, like when you're attracted to a man? Do you feel like it goes, like it's the same thing, like it's a soul attraction? Do you understand what I mean?
The sole attractions that I've actually had with men have been beyond, haven't even included sex, and that's one
Mm-hmm.
in few. Um, I I have this wild dream that I probably will have a wife and kids. I just have that fear that um, that I'm gonna want somebody to hold me. Sorry, it's just, I and and I'm not ashamed to, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
to admit that. I am, like, I was not the baby of three, but I'm obviously considered to be, the younger brother. I've always had protectors, my twin and my older brother, you know, um, they definitely have been, you know, those guards and shields and protectors for me. So, um, I, 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 I would love to, I would love to get married one day. And I'm not, hey love, hey Trees, that's my cousin. I would love to, to, I want to be honest. I would love to get married one day, and it it be with whoever. I don't even, because I wanted to segue into the
Mm-hmm.
non-binary culture, because I don't identify with gender.
Mm. But what do you mean when
So
you say that? Because I know we have both polarities within us. So when you say you don't identify with the gender, what does that mean for you?
it's not about the gender that I'm truly attracted to, and that's what I've learned. Obviously, to your question, in the difference between being with a woman and a man.
So can you explain more about? the non-binary code, what it means for people that don't know what it is.
So the non-binary, I mean, there are so many different, this LGBTQ, I definitely can't keep up. I do mostly, as a pansexual, obviously that is someone who is, is not attracted or just does not identify with the gender. And I felt that obviously kind of growing up, for a long time, you know, I'm grateful for exactly how God, has made me, but I didn't know, you know, the difference between a man and a woman. I felt probably just like a spirit, if you will, for maybe up until like 5 or 6, I didn't really know or identify with a boy or a girl. And I know that's kind of weird, but the non-binary approach, obviously, like again, it's just we don't identify with gender, and we're not sexually attracted to just a gender, and it's a little bit more deeper. It's, there has to be a mental attraction. That you have to have a spiritual and mental attraction with someone. You have to, and yeah, you have to find that harmony there before you can even explore.
Don't feel like
that.
for just couples that are heterosexual too. It's the same initial heart level attraction too before.
Say that again,
I
Lauren?
said, do you feel like with heterosexual couples it's the same, like initial the heart connection?
So, of course, I think that sexuality in humans, I think that we as humans are a lot more bisexual than what we have established. It exists, and I do believe you're born that way. I definitely.
So that's actually a question I had for you. Being that we all do have like one thing in common, which we all have a soul, we all have an energy system. When someone that is gay or lesbian or LGQBT, when they say, "I feel like I was born this way," how can someone feel like they were born with a desire towards a specific sex?
When we say born, obviously not saying that we're in the womb with the conscious to define a sexual orientation. Of course, definitely not in the womb, but and I won't say in infantry, but I think there is something that obviously as the brain develops, in toddlers, I was very, very young, and I was always attracted to sparkly pinks, and my mom would, she's like, "You think that's really pretty?" And oh my gosh, yes, I would light up. Obviously, she being a girly girl, but yeah, I think it's early on. It's obviously not something just born.
Feel like there was ever like a moment that you can pinpoint back in your childhood that was like a trigger for you, or that because sometimes people will say, oh well, maybe something happened in their life that makes them gravitate towards men or towards women, like if they're gay or lesbian. I feel like that's true, and if that is true, was there ever a moment in time for you that was the case?
As early as I can remember, I know that me and my twin, my mom would dress us up really, really cute. And we were some cute little yellow little, kids. Bad, but hella adorable. We would come home with hickeys, you know, um, girls would tear us up when we were at school. I mean, we couldn't keep them
Mhm.
off of us, literally, you know. And I don't remember. Obviously, I can't really um, like verbatim, call out my molestation. I don't even really remember what
Mhm.
age. I do feel I know that something
Mhm.
happened. Um, I don't know
Mhm.
who, um, but was that what triggered? I don't know why this is doing this. Sorry, I should take this off. This is annoying. Yeah, I don't know if it was, or if it was that triggered. Um, I just I just believe that I just always had a bisexual attraction, but it really didn't consider
Mhm.
gender, it really didn't, and nor did it consider
Mhm.
race.
When you felt those moments, did it ever get to the point where you feel like it was too much to deal with and like you wanted to go inside yourself and figure out why you felt the way that you felt towards another man?
Well, obviously growing up in the church, um, sexual perversion is a sin, and homosexuality is considered, a sexual perversion. And I just recently heard a sermon from Dr. Matthew Stevenson in Chicago, and he said that it has a lot to do, with pride, considering that the gay festivals of, I don't know if I'm sure if it's international, but it's all obviously Pride. The Pride, gay festivals or whatever. You look it up. He expounds on it um, quite well. Um, yeah, I definitely wanted to go inside myself and figure out what what's wrong with me. You know, when I got to LA, um, is when I was like, there's nothing wrong with me, and I'm not even gonna continue to pray the gay away, when I believe that God is really focused on something totally different, with my life. I don't think that he's concerned with my sexuality. I think that he's concerned that I, grow up and, become a a man, and a smart man,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a responsible man, a man with integrity. Um, I um I think that as it relates to religion and um, gay marriage and just gays, period, or just the entire LGBTQEAXYZ. I honestly, I think that you should really just have God in your life. You should really apply Christ in your life, and when you pray and you read your
Mm-hmm.
word and you use your life as an instrument to give hope and to give joy, to almost everyone that you encounter. You should
So with that said, a
ramble,
lot of
but
times when we are going through something and you don't have the tools and someone says someone, because a lot of people on my platform are universally conscious, as I know you know, in your community as well. Um, what would you say to somebody who's going through something like this and they don't have that source? They don't have a deeper belief in anything and they're trying to figure it out. What would you tell that person?
I even coming from you know being in the church, I've definitely felt
Mm-hmm.
lonely, and ostracized. I'm actually currently going through that. I went through a bit of a suicidal moment in life when I was told that I couldn't sing on the praise and worship team anymore. That was ruined me.
Why
That crushed
was
me.
it because of
That
sexuality?
sit me down and
Because of your
huh?
sexuality?
I always assumed so. Obviously that's not what it was. I was told that that the something about the Holy Spirit had no need for me or something. I don't know verbatim, but
I don't
know that
laugh, laughing at
not
your
having.
at the situations. I know it was an important moment for you, but
No, I
hypocrisy.
know it is funny, but
I'm
huh?
laughing at the hypocrisy of the statement.
No, right. I yeah, no, I definitely. But what I would say to what I would say to that person, it's something that you do when you get up in the morning, when you look in the mirror, as you know, and as you're going throughout your day. It is definitely um, a mentality, and it is a lifestyle to affirm yourself in your in your destiny and in your purpose. And um, I do believe it. I love the Bible. The Bible says that people perish if you don't if you lack
Mm-hmm.
vision. You know, I would say to that person, what do you, what's
Mm-hmm.
your vision? There's a dream, there's a song, there's a dance, there's a book, there is a house that there is something within everyone. Whether you're an architect or or I don't know. I don't. You have to listen to your inner being. I believe that the Holy Spirit abides and dwells within me, that God and all the universe is in tune when I need counsel, when I need wisdom. And you have to tell yourself, I can have a sound mind right now. I can quiet this mind and all the, it's not
Mm-hmm.
confusion. No, it's actually you just, you know, going through the algorithms of how to get to that purpose, how to get to that vision, how to get to your true destiny. And you have to listen to that daily. It is a daily practice to get up in the morning and if I turn this camera on, you'll see little sticky notes and of affirmation. Or if you in the mirror of my bathroom, lipstick of affirmation, because I have to daily renew my mind until it's rock solid, until it's not just a practice, not just a lifestyle, but it
Mm-hmm.
becomes you. you know yeah. And I know, if I had to say, I wouldn't say that is a fear of just going to hell, but this fear that you know that even if I try to live a righteous life and everything, there's still this one thing about me, that's obviously, that doesn't align, with holiness or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
purity. That idea of perfection can ruin. And sometimes I think it's
Mm-hmm.
vanity to think that you could be so,
Mm-hmm.
pristine. This human experience is so beautiful because all of us have beautiful flaws, um, and we
Yeah.
need those. We need those, and we need that humility. Um, yeah, I'll tell that person, you just have to, you gotta listen to that. You gotta find that vision. You gotta close your eyes, and you have to go within yourself. That used to be my favorite thing when I was little, and I didn't know what I was doing. Oh my gosh, we meditate, that is like my most favorite like feeling, other than being on stage with a band in the audience and or on set. or on the red carpet or just being on stage, like that feeling when you finally drop within, like, and it's totally silent, and you feel within yourself, and you feel this, this cocoon in a sense. Um, and I used to do that a lot when I was little. Oh my gosh, just and feel how big and spacious I am inside. And I think that's important. That's important for anyone that's going through.
Yeah, going through life, you need it. So I've
Going through
known you
life.
for
Yeah.
a long time, and just seeing your transformation, if you finding your balance. Like, speaking to you now, I have a clear understanding of your balance of who you are, and I think that you've done a great job being someone that identifies, as bisexual and being attracted to men as well. You've done a great job finding your balance, but what do you ever feel like, for example, there's people that feel so strongly one way that they go and they change their body because they feel like they're in the wrong body. Have you ever had that feeling for yourself, and like the thought of wanting to change your body? Or were you able to find that balance within yourself in the body that you're in? And if so, how did you do it?
In light of Mother's Day, I'm so grateful for the mother that I was given. I always felt she always, helped me feel great in this skin, in this natural skin that that God had given me. And I believe that I'm perfect exactly how I am. I never felt that I needed to change my body. Never. I love exactly how I came into this world and everything about it. I don't know that experience, and I've always wanted to speak with someone, who has gone through a sex change, because I would want to ask them if anyone told them that they were perfect exactly how they not perfect well, perfect exactly how they came in. I mean, you know, there's no, I definitely, I never, I can't identify with that. That's not my experience or my journey. I wanted plastic surgery though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
no,
that
I
count?
mean, thank you for sharing. I mean, all of it's valid.
Yeah. I just transparent. Yeah, I've contemplated rhinoplasty. One of the things as a actor in Hollywood, it man, thinking about it really hurts my feelings. To be on set, for something to have booked something, and you know, you're sent home because you've been on set, and in between takes they're continuously calling hair and makeup over to touch you up. I couldn't, if I zoom in, if I take all this makeup off, cameras, they get really, really close. And if I turn my face, you can kind of see some. I won't do it all. But it would get really, really bad. And it has to do with stress. So sometimes a lot of acne, and diet. But it would be worse, obviously, the day of something major. I would wake up with boils. Never forget, I booked a major commercial, Pepsi, and they called me home. I mean, not call me home, but they sent me home. Really, really nice about it, but I pissed off my agents and managers. Um, and
So as a
yeah, I just kind of felt like my skin was kind of
so
getting
as
in
a
the way.
man, I know women speak to this point that they feel like they need to change their bodies, and also speaking to the fact that someone else in the industry, Kanye, just said he got liposuction. What do you think? I mean, it takes to drive a man, because usually there's a mentality that men are more lax about their appearance, or they just shouldn't really care as much, right? But what do you think it takes to drive a man to want to change his body or get plastic surgery or get liposuction? What is that point that brings you to want to do it?
If you have the means, honestly, if you can afford the luxury of it, you know, everyone can't. You know, there are a lot of people out here who have bulimia who are trying that way. You know, it's a luxury to, you know, be able to get breast implants and ribs removed, butt injections. That's money, you know, sculpting and think fillers and Botox and things. I think, you know, as it is for men, you know, we're always trying to outdo ourselves. That's for sure. So, ego,
Mm.
ego, you know, and it does, and it is a vanity, you know, and I probably will if I have the means, to be honest and quite frank. I won't do anything drastic, but yeah, well, I've contemplated it, you know, for years. I'm totally
Mm.
over it by now. But yeah, is that's if you have the means and you have the luxury to do it. Um, I think that men get to a place within their egos where, you know, especially, and you don't see ordinary everyday
Mm.
men doing it. You see men who have an esteem and an acclaim and, you know, a brand, or, you know, it's definitely an industry thing for sure.
So I know you
That
briefly spoke to your upbringing with your mom, but as a man, can you speak to me about your relationship with your father, and any expectations he might have had for you in terms of your sexuality and your life and just understanding who you are?
Here's a funny story that I just was told the story maybe a year ago, or maybe over the holidays this year, actually. Um, I have a twin brother, and I also have an older brother who's 5 years older than myself and my twin. And um, the story has it that when they turned 16, my father called my mom and basically told her, have Charles come to my dad's house, have Charles come to, you know, to my granddad's house, have Kobe come to my, you know, to my dad's house, tell Kobe and Charles to meet me, you know, they didn't do it together, but when they each turned 16, that's what he did. And Kobe told me that when my dad called her for Kobe, she got upset and she called him into her room, into her quarters, and oh God, and she says, um, sorry, and she says, you know, your dad wants you to go to your granddad's house. I want you to call him and I want you to ask him why he doesn't want Chad to come. And 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 he said that he would, but he didn't, or whatever. Because when he got over there, he obviously found out what, you know, what it was about. But this ritual that I'm sure that they did it also with my other older brother, Carlos, rest in peace, was that they give them a bag of condoms and teach them about, obviously, the birds and the bees, and about girls and about women and about sex. And I just found out, you know, that's almost, you know, 10 years ago. And I laughed, I chuckled. I had such you know, like, I thought that was so funny. I thought that was so funny. because that means that my dad knew all along, that my parents, they both knew all along. They just didn't say anything, or they just wanted me to just see how I blossomed. And that is kind of the type of
Mm-hmm.
person that I am. I'm such a flower child, and they clearly knew that. But his expectations, I I don't even think that it really truly matters to him, because it's not even anything that he's ever
Mm-hmm.
brought up. His concerns, are in education, and that's always been his. Been a teacher, a principal, worked for the school board. That's always been his steez, an education, a job, and my older brother, his first son, didn't have a wife or kids, and that was his favorite, So it's not even about that, My dad's been married 4 times, So I don't even think that he, obviously, I think he thinks that we'll find love as it comes,
That when
Um,
do you think, speaking from your perspective as the child, if a group of
mhm.
parents, or if parents have a child that identifies as gay or bi, transsexual, that they should provide a different type of understanding, or more so like safety net for them coming up while they're figuring out who they are.
They definitely should have a safety net. I mean, not having my father in my home. I mean, my dad's and I's relationship you know, is interesting, because he was not in the home full time. We saw him every
Mm-hmm.
other weekend, and my mom would ask me growing up, do you ever feel like you missed out because you didn't have a dad in the home? And I would, I'm like, are you kidding me, girl? You're amazing. What? No, it wasn't until maybe 2 or 3 years ago that I really understood why she, would ask me those questions, because I definitely needed every bit of. I just needed I needed a man in the home. Um, I'm every bit of my mother. I'm so much of her. I think that's why God was just totally okay with her. I, but um, my dad. Um, my dad's father was really, really strict. He's a Tuskegee Airman. He's in the military, and I guess he was quite militant with him. And um, so my dad, obviously, in his fathering, was the
Mm-hmm.
same. And there's an intimacy in fatherhood that I think they both may have missed in my dad's fatherhood and my grandfather's fatherhood, and in his, I think it was just something that's
Mm-hmm.
generational, that intimacy in fatherhood. And I totally missed that, as a child or adolescent and teenager. Maybe not so much as a child. I was told that that he was actually quite dynamic, when we were kids. It was just, after, the divorce, and things obviously got strained. But um, you kids definitely need that guidance, and I know that parents know. I know that parents can have that intuition, and if in whatever intuition that you have about your child, you should definitely advise it as such, and go about it as such. Um, and that goes across the board. If you notice that your child has some fundamental, developmental issues, you're going to go get it checked out, whether it's autism or whatever it could be. And also, and I would say this the same, with if you So you have a bright child. You know, you have these kids now where they let their boys and girls dress as androgynous as they so please, and they let their choose expressions. I think it's a book about this princess boy. You know, this is something that's kind of new. You know, maybe within the last 5 years or so. You know. Allowing the child to, to self-identify as it so chooses. But I personally think that it should be within confined and morally confined for sure. But it should definitely be confined and educated and nurtured, and groomed, in a positive way that it blossoms into that child and that person, becomes an outstanding, adult and contributor to this earth. We have to be able to look into our kids and see, just like Matthew Knowles and Tina Knowles did. And I just saw an interview where Tina, was preparing Solange at 5 because Beyonce was already making a name for herself in Houston, and they just knew that this girl was destined to be an icon, which is she very. And if you see that in your child, you have to nurture.
I feel like you were more so left on your own to explore your sexuality. Like you said, I know your dad gave the talk to your brothers. Was it just kind of like, oh, Chad will find his way? And how did you find your way? Because it's not really spoken about, like going encounter with the same sex. Like you're just I don't know, how did you find your way?
Music. There's an artist, his name is Tone, well, formerly known as Tone. He goes by B Slade now. Yeah, he didn't come out to the gospel community on his own doing. He had it was an interview that, and she basically brought it up, and she knew about him, but she ended up bringing it up. It was live, I guess, but anyway, he ended up coming out, and he ended up receiving obviously a lot of backlash, and I just followed his journey. I followed B Slade's journey. I've been following him since, obviously he was Tone. And my mother, even, and she was really strict. She didn't allow me to buy every, genre of music there was at all. It was select few of R&B, no rap for me, and all gospel or classical and jazz if I wanted. But she let me have Tone. And by the time obviously, I had my computer, I followed his journey. I really did, and I trusted him. And it was his music and his voice. He's an amazing singer. I found my way because he survived. I found my way because he overcame the backlash, and he is every bit of fierce. Oh, if you see B Slade right now, you'd be like, what? He can sing. When I say sing, he can, he's fierce, and he's, and he loves God. He loves the Lord. And I love that. And that's totally me, and that's how I found my way. That's how and I'm so okay with my sexuality because of him. 100%. Yeah.
So speaking to the people closest around you, I know you have an older brother. Do you feel like they just knew? At what point did you feel that they knew that you were attracted? And
they always
did it change how did it change your relationship with them?
No, it didn't change. They totally know. I've always been Chad. I've always been, as old folks would say, sugar in the tank. Totally. Oh my God. I've always, just been very in touch with my feminine side. They've always known when I got to LA and, again, the androgyny, like the fashion started to, come into play, and I, wanted to really keep my feminine features and resemble my, I, that's when, things like, yo, bro, you're doing too much. My brother had asked me, why you got to wear the makeup, just that is your hair, this, the clothes, you really want to wear that, Chad, that, I mean, they've had issues, with that, but they've always known who I was, and I'm grateful for that.
That's actually a
Yeah.
good question. I mean, has anyone ever told you you're too feminine, or besides your brothers? And how do you, especially going around other women, like, do you ever feel like there was ever comments from just circles of friends around you or people around you that say, make comments like that towards your sexuality? And how does it affect you as a man that's attracted to men, hearing a woman say to you, you're too feminine?
The mockery, of it all. But we all know that we I don't want to sound confident or cocky, but we know that gays are trendsetters. We know that, we are world shifters. We are color. We will, help bring some color into life. And I've obviously learned, whatever that is within that person, or, especially those girls, is within them, and it doesn't reflect
But did it ever
me.
at a point affect you?
That in particular, no, that didn't affect me at all. I've always known that I can teach you a little something wise beyond my years. If you sit back and watch, I might be able to show you a little how to be a lady. Because I was, and not to, I can show a lady how to be a lady more than a lady can show a lady how to be a lady. But I took a couple of notes from from my mom. I know a little something about how to carry yourself in that character, and upholding someone to that always. And that's the insecurity of that person, if they have to make a mockery of, well, I can't turn that on all day.
You said in that character, do you feel like it's a character for you, or is who you are? Because, what about the men that go into drag? What about, the ladies that go, that dress like men? Does it become ever a point caricature? Like, or is it just like, oh, this is who I am today? This is, you know what I mean? Because how do you switch back and forth? And when you do switch back and forth, does how you act change? Are you more masculine? Are you more feminine? Are you just who you are consistently?
Okay. I'll say this for me personally. I'm not gonna say that I have like 8 personalities or anything like that, but I know that, I'm an actor. I'm a thespian. I definitely have, characters inside of me, for sure, and characters that I totally, turn on and turn off. Oh, for sure. My innate femininity, I think every man has it. The Bible says that we are to rest in God's bosom. I think, women came from God, not that God is a man. And I love that that he's neither man or woman, because I believe that we're this masculinity and what it means to be a man is just totally, talking with my hands, but it's totally, it's too much, it's too much.
With that being said, do you think that your experience as a man, your journey is different? Like, even on the opposite spectrum, when you have a conversation with men, is ever like feeling like, well, you can't speak to this perspective, or you can't speak to this understanding because like men? You know what I mean? Do you ever get that on the opposite end?
I got a fear that I got the best of both
Mm.
worlds. I got a fear that if not a fear, but I have this idea that we're all kind of bisexual. We're all, we're not.
Well, do you feel like that's a bold statement to make? Because for someone like me, I would say that that's not my experience. So I want you to expand on that.
Can you not find beauty and 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 does bisexuality have to truly identify with the act of
Mm,
sex in mind?
that's a great question.
Because I find beauty, and I think that God found beauty in man, which is why He made man. If you believe that He made man first, I believe that that's quite beautiful. Um, um, and I think that I think that men and women are absolutely beautiful, and I think that everyone can find the beauty and the attraction in in it in us. Yeah. Um, I yeah, I think that, and I think that there is. I mean, but that's just centuries of of how worlds are, and just think that were established long before I've gotten here. To undo what we have established as the social norm. You know, but I think that taking all of that away, and before a lot of things came into
Mm.
play, or if we go back to back to the Garden of Eden, I, you know, I don't know. I think that we can all find beauty in both sexes, and this maybe bisexual isn't the
Hmm.
word. Is that too bold of a statement to say bisexual? Because does it have to identify
I
with
mean,
the act of sex?
your journey, that's if part of your journey is redefining what it is, then I understand. I can understand your perspective. I do think in society, like you mentioned, it is attributed only in one way and towards just the sexual act. So, but I appreciate your perspective, and I think that is brings up a great for us to all be aware of or to consider.
Yeah. Um, I was telling you
I
that
do see that we are, for some reason, I don't know if it's my battery, but it's giving me 129 remaining. So if we are disconnected, I thank you for being on. I feel like there's so much more to still share.
oh my God, it
Um,
really is. I feel like we're kind of
but
oh,
let me try. Thank you guys for being with us.
but whatever.
Okay, it's still giving me the same thing, but um, I want um, to try to see if I can either contact you back or thank you for being on In the Bed with V, because I feel like you've offered some great perspectives for us all to consider, and just to think about
Yeah.
sexuality in a broader perspective, about the acts of sex if you're attracted to other sexes. And I think, that there's a lot of growing that we all can grow to understand someone else's um, awareness and just perspective in their journey. So I thank you for your transparency and being willing to have this conversation.
I trust a universal love, a universal attraction.